Why, hello, wrestling fans and daily wrestling faithful. For some reason, I looked a bit blue then, but thankfully it's all sorted out. My microphone is not close enough to me. Bear with me just one moment. If you couldn't hear me previously, welcome. I am Tom Colhue. You are joining us today at Daily Wrestling for another preview, this time for WWE's NXT show. You will have the opportunity, of course, to ask your questions, ask what you think is going to be happening, react, and tell me what your thoughts are as I run through. But to begin with, we like to go through the actual preview. I'm going on to WWE.com to make sure that in the last several hours, nothing new has been announced. It is, after all, a half hour before the show, but with NXT at least, it tends to be that they actually have the plan in place well before time, so we can say with confidence what they are planning to do. You can type in on YouTube and say exactly what you want here. It is a free reign. You can say whatever, and I will be picking comments out and questions as they come in. A big thank you to everyone joining. Someone's here saying, hey, Tom, welcome someone7 over on Twitch as well. So let's jump into what we are expecting to see at NXT tonight. Now, a lot of build has been put into this particular one for certain characters as well. There are certain players who will feature heavily in this preview and certain players who will feature very lightly in NXT going forwards. I'm talking, of course, about Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler, who will be defending the Women's Tag Team Championships against Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez, who earned the opportunity by winning the Women's Dusty Classic. They, of course, won that via takeover in a wonderful match with Shotzi Blackheart and Ember Moon. A great takeover, well worth watching again if you haven't already. Now, Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler have been putting in the work. Essentially, they've been going from show to show, defending these championships as much as possible and doing very good things with it, putting on good matches. However, on Raw, while Nia Jax looked dominant against Naomi, essentially completely squashing her, Shayna Baszler did not, having lost to Charlotte Flair in about the same amount of time, despite Charlotte Flair taking an initial beatdown. So honestly, I think Shayna Baszler came off even worse than Naomi did overall. Someone has said he's excited for NXT tonight. Me too, to be fair, though I will be watching NXT tomorrow morning. Wednesday is my day off of staying up until 3 a.m. over here in UK time. When it comes to the result of this match, I am very much hoping that Kai and Gonzalez actually pull it off. I think they actually might. And I think this leads into recent reports that there will be, one, a takeover around WrestleMania time, and two, there will not be a NXT Championship match on the Mania main card. Now, this is something I've been mentioning in my own streams and over at Twitch quite regularly. There is no intention to put a NXT Championship defense on the main card. It's also partly to do with the fact that Finn Balor, being on NXT full-time now, will not be there. However, when it comes to the Women's Tag Team Championships, there are opportunities there. There is a possibility that they will be able to do a little bit more, a little bit extra, just a little bit. And I think we're going to be looking at maybe a four corners match for the Women's Tag Team Championships, that being Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax, Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez, Naomi and Lana, and the Riot Squad, because it doesn't look like Naomi and Lana are going to fit neatly onto the Fastlane card. And even if they do, it depends who they're up against. For me, the best way to get to that four corners tag team match would be a win for Kai and Gonzalez. There is strong storyline already between Kai and Baszler, of course, and that's something I'd like to see them play up as time goes on. Austin Palmeter said it feels good to see my favorite Shayna back on NXT. She's certainly been booked a lot stronger on NXT than she has been on Raw. I think that's something we really have to focus on. She simply hasn't been given the attention and the time of day, as it were, previously. So it's all a little bit awkward in that regard. They are trying to do whatever they can to get more people involved, get more people in, and hopefully going forwards, that will be something that works out as well. I think Shayna Baszler deserves more than she's had so far. It's not the strongest of moments for anyone, but at least it's something, and it's something they can build for. Also announced tonight, going by WWE.com, NXT Tag Team Champions Danny Burch and Oney Lorcan take on Tommaso Ciampa and Timothy Thatcher, who were feuding until teaming up at the Dusty Classic, and that is at least a good use of Tommaso Ciampa, who, of course, as we know, has reached the pinnacle several times in NXT, but will not be going forwards, as it were, to the main roster. They are essentially having Tommaso Ciampa stick around. That means he will be doing favors, helping out, and supporting however he can. And I think ideally, this is a match that he can do to lose, really. Considering Lorcan and Birch, wherever they're headed, we do have contenders for their championships. They just haven't had the match yet. So I think even though this match is non-title, the WWE for a while now have been doing non-title matches and still having the challengers lose. This might also be a good way to start a new feud with Ciampa and Thatcher, or really, whatever happens next, I feel this will be a good move to get Pete Dunne back into play now that he has lost his match against Finn Balor. I feel this would be an ideal time to maybe push Pete Dunne versus Tommaso Ciampa, or in fact, Pete Dunne versus Timothy Thatcher. Pete Dunne does have an engagement with Lorcan and Birch, and I think this was a good way to start building that. Manny says, excited to see Jade wrestle tonight. I believe she's had a couple of weeks so far and has been building up to something potentially quite big, though I don't know how big it will be. She has not been announced so far on the preview document over on WWE.com, so nothing official has been announced, but she has been wrestling regularly, so I don't expect we'll miss her. As in she will be on the show. Austin agrees, saying Triple H did really well booking her in NXT. I believe you're talking about Shayna Baszler there. Yeah, it's not just Triple H, to be clear. A lot of people are involved in that creative team, some of which do write for Raw and for SmackDown, but it's an independent enough show that they can do different things. Really, on NXT, they do focus around one person at the top and then a lot of people orbiting them, but it's difficult in that regard as well. And Manny says, talking about Jade Cargill. Sorry, I got confused. Someone says, what do you think Cross will do next? He still technically has a feud going on with Santos Escobar. So I think that will continue for at least a little while longer. But really, with Karrion Kross, they are intentionally wasting time. He'll be made to look incredibly strong, but logically, the next match for Karrion Kross will be Finn Balor. That's just the only way it can really play. Guinness Gamers, welcome Owen, says, hi Tom, you watching NXT or AEW tonight? I'm not watching either tonight. I will be watching NXT tomorrow because it's a 1 to 3 a.m. deal over here in the UK, and I can handle that Monday to Friday for the watch parties we do over on Twitch, but I can't handle that constantly. Every now and then I've got to get some sleep, and Thursdays are a busy day for me. Austin says, I think Shayna being a face would be pretty cool, something different. Not sure they can play that game with her style and her dominance, but long term, that may be something that they can do. And I think that's an interesting possibility and something well worth visiting. After all, there were suggestions that the Undisputed Era couldn't necessarily play face, and yet here we are. Speaking of the Undisputed Era, there will undoubtedly be progress. This is not on WWE.com, but there will be progress on what has been happening with Adam Cole, Roderick Strong, and Kyle O'Reilly. I would not be surprised tonight to see the return of Kyle O'Reilly going for a little bit of revenge against Finn Balor. At the same time, Roderick Strong, of course, not Finn Balor, against Adam Cole. At the same time, of course, Roderick Strong did have a moment with Adam Cole last week, so I expect they will continue to build tension there. But at the same time, I don't think we're going to see, for example, Adam Cole versus Roderick Strong this quickly. We may, in fact, see Adam Cole versus Kyle O'Reilly, but it would be very brief and matter of fact, as it were. Well, I'm waiting on a few comments, and while I'm looking through what's left of the preview document, let's talk about daily wrestling and what you can expect from us. So, having already gone live about half an hour ago is the first match of our daily wrestling concept. There are going to be a lot of wrestling matches, as many of you know, but there are in fact going to be 2 of them today. So the first one that is already up is Beastman versus Nick Zander. For anyone familiar with their work, Beastman is a bit of a brawler, and it's a lot of fun for that. And then coming up in about 10 to 20 minutes, so after this show finishes, you can go straight into Mikey O'Shea versus Shaggy McLovin. Hell of a name, Shaggy McLovin. I do love that. I have not been fortunate enough to interview any of these yet, but as soon as I do, I will let you guys know, because they have very interesting stories to tell. They have wrestled a multitude of matches in a multitude of different promotions, and there are some very exciting names for daily wrestling that you could do to be keeping an eye out for, because they are going to be making big strides forward in the near future. For anyone who hasn't been keeping track so far, AJ Ziegler got a very powerful win over Daivari, and of course Hammerstone took the win over Class so far. So there will be more matches coming, but the matches for today: Beastman and Nick Xander, and Mikey O'Shea and Shaggy McLovin. Well worth checking out, well worth popping over. And even if you don't watch it all the way through, even if you're one of those people, one of those crafty people that skip to the end for the result, please do remember to click like and comment as well. That helps us grow over at Daily Wrestling too. And also, you can click like on this video, whether you're watching on Daily Wrestling or watching on my personal YouTube channel. Please do remember to, click like on these videos as well. That helps us grow, that helps us get engagement, and that helps us get advertised in front of people. Austin Palmater said, I think Shayna being a face would be pretty cool, something different. Fair enough. I may have already clicked on that. But Palmater also says, I saw that NXT going to Tuesdays in April. This hasn't been confirmed by any official channels so far, but this was news that was released by the Mad Men podcast on the Observer Network and has been mentioned by a number of other websites since and a number of other promoters. So far, only Mad Men have officially stated that this is going to be happening and that right after WrestleMania, NXT will move to Tuesdays. Personally, I'm going to wait and see what happens there. But this is an interesting move and would possibly be a concession of defeat from NXT. If it's network run, if it's the USA Network wanting it, I get that, because to be fair, when the USA signed the current contract with the WWE, it was for 2 wrestling shows on a Monday and a Tuesday. NXT, really, one of the reasons it was brought up to USA Network was because SmackDown was moving to Fox. So while a lot is made of the fact that NXT went head-to-head with AEW, it was a move not just done for that. They also did owe the USA Network 2 shows, 5 hours of programming. And if it is a move to Tuesday, then it's a bit more keeping with the contract that they're doing. So it may not be entirely WWE-led that they are doing this. Let's continue with the preview. I'll wait for a few more comments to come through. And the header of this is beautiful. The way head to therapy tonight on NXT. How much therapy have we seen in NXT recently? Because did we not see a little bit of that with Kyle O'Reilly recently? Did we not see a little bit of that with Adam Cole? We've seen therapy quite recently, particularly on WWE Backstage, but now they're bringing it back. And how much therapy have we seen over the last 10 years or so? Sasha Banks and Bayley went to therapy. Daniel Bryan and Kane went to therapy. They're normalizing therapy. And I'm okay with that, because it really did help Daniel Bryan and Kane. It's not helped anyone since. The Way, of course, have a very interesting situation, particularly with Dexter Lumis and everything going on there. We have a number of mixed opinions on Dexter Lumis, which has made this whole thing very, very interesting. Very interesting indeed. When it comes to The Way, this is much like what's happening with Tommaso Ciampa, a way to keep Johnny Gargano in the public eye and prominent without pushing him immediately to the championship. He's admittedly the North American champion, but that's a strong potential way of putting other people over. Much like, for example, Bobby Lashley relinquishing the United States Championship, he elevated that title and then passed it off to Riddle, who will be elevated by it. Johnny Gargano, by virtue of being Johnny Gargano, elevates the North American Championship, ready to pass it on to whoever he eventually will pass it on to as well. So that's something well worth keeping an eye on. The final piece on WWE.com is that LA Knight will be appearing live on NXT. This, of course, is a former Eli Drake who was taking bookings as recently as January. So that is quite telling about where he was in his career previously, because the WWE signed him in February. If he was taking bookings in January, that means he didn't necessarily know that that was happening. That is everything currently announced for NXT. There will undoubtedly be a number of other matches of what we expect of continuing storylines, but that is everything that has been formally announced. The WWE will be putting the main focus on the Women's Tag Team Championship match. Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler on one side, defending against Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez, and I honestly believe it is highly likely that Kai and Gonzalez will be taking the win. Austin quite rightly points out, wonder who that one person is that sits in the chair that controls Xia Li. Xia Li is getting a definite push, and I do believe it's towards a championship match. However, it will be a bit of a slower burn. When it comes to Xia Li, she's been in NXT for a while now and she hasn't had any significant moments until recently. So that will continue as things play out. And I'm interested to see where they go with that. I think I'm about to sneeze. No. No? I'm about to sneeze. My apologies. So that is everything we've got covered. That is all the comments that we have at the moment. So please do remember that a match from Daily Wrestling will be coming up straight after this, that being Mikey O'Shea versus Shaggy McLovin. Please do remember to check that out. We got a very good reception recently on some of the matches that we have uploaded already. Please do check them out. You get wrestling every single day on the Daily Wrestling YouTube channel. And if you're watching on my personal channel, you'll be getting these preview shows as on Daily Wrestling Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays for all of the free big shows. Wednesday is the only day I will not be going on Twitch and going immediately into a watch party. But if you don't already know, please do remember to go over to twitch.tv/Tom Collier. Follow for free. You'll get notifications whenever we do watch parties there, or our Monday or Friday shows, which happen at 6 p.m. UK time. That is 1 p.m. EST, in which you guys get to essentially make me do all manner of weird stuff. Thank you to everyone who has watched. I hope everyone is excited for NXT and will enjoy it. You guys will have to let me know and comment on these videos and come back and let me know if you've enjoyed it. But thank you very much for watching.